Hey guys, this is SF and it's time for another series rundown, and this time for the first half of October is the Hero Series number 2. And the first one was Kushlin, Gilgamesh, and Siegfried. So it's been like 3 years and it's been a long time. So basically this video is running down the Hatcher monsters, extreme / lethal monsters, and it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with me butchering names probably. And let's start with the Hatcher monsters. First one is Hannibal. And let's look at the evolution. This guy's probably the OP of the Hatcher. And type balance, bounce slaying, and then ability is no gravity barrier, gauge is flight and status recovery. Strike shot is a self-immune strike shot, and bump combo is a weak point lock on shockwave 5. Next, go for the Ascension, and he has a no gravity barrier, no warp monster, poison laser strike shot, so same thing as Memento Mori. And bump combo slice and dice plus a sub bump combo of rebound shockwave 6. So in terms of whichever form you want, you can't really go wrong with either one because you can beat a lot of impossibles, which I'm going to get to later. In terms of evolution, you get an extra ability, which is really nice, and that immune strike shot. Ascension is kind of iffy just because of the poison laser strike shot. It's not that powerful, although it does bypass laser barriers if you're wondering, but it does have two quote-unquote better no abilities. I wouldn't say it's like directly like absolutely better, but depending on your box, depending on which type of monster you need, then you go either evolution or ascension. Okay, let's look at the impossibles and colossals. First up for the evolution, Izanami, because no gravity barrier. Kane, also no gravity barrier. Akala, because he has mines and gravity barriers in there as well, and the immune strike shot is really good for clearing those 12 turn immune strike shot that can clear those zombie loops relatively effectively, yeah. Whatever. And then Izanami 0 because of the flight. And there's also one more monster that I forgot to add for this, and that is Ragnarok, the very recent and somewhat okay, like in terms of difficulty it's okay, but Hannibal is also a very good monster just because of the self-immune strike shot and the weak point shockwave. Okay, let's look at the Ascension. Nirvana, because he is a no gravity barrier and no warp monster, and basically he's in the likes of Noah, but he's not a pierce monster, so you know there's always that. But his strike shot can deal damage to Nirvana. His bump combo can also deal damage to Nirvana, piercing through, like going to that middle of that hitbox to the weak point. Next one, Izanami and Avalon, because he's also a no warp and a bounce monster. His strike shot might not be doing much, but you know he still can pinch and do damage that way. Okay, let's look at the next Hatcher monster, and that is Kamehameha. And there's an actual historical figure that's named Kamehameha, so it's not a Dragon Ball Z reference at all. Okay, let's look at the evolution. Speed type, pierce monster, no damage wall. No damage wall for the ability, gauge of no block. Strike shot is the blast, bash, and volatile blast SS. It's not as powerful as Kali's, but it's like in terms of how you shoot it is basically the same thing. You bash and then it shoots out volatile blast afterwards, and it will proc bump combos and whatnot. Bump combo, bomb spread, basically the same as Beethoven bump combo, so it's relatively powerful. Okay, let's look at the Ascension. This time she is a blast type, and now she's a bounce monster, and then ability is no wind laser stop, gauge of no damage wall. Strike shot is a clone strike shot, so Arcadia. And then bump combo, same thing, bomb spread, but it is a blast monster. And then lock on Tox Wave 3. So it's good for mob clearing and stuff, but in terms of viability wise, I would say evolution. But like if you're going for like impossible colossals, you go for evolution. Ascension is more for like extremes and lethals and stuff like that. So let's look at the viable dungeons. Skill me 0 for evolution, just because she can pierce through those eyeballs, and of course no block is very useful. And then Ashra, just because you can pierce and position her away from all those attacks, and she's also a no block, which you can, you know, pierce, go through freely without having to deal with the blocks. Now the Ascension doesn't really have a dungeon for her, just because there's not much, there's not many damage wall dungeons that she can work on. There's none in the dark realm, so that leaves her out. And then even like stuff like Asha, Bishamoten, there's way better monsters out there. So sadly, Ascension is kind of there's nothing much for the Ascension. Okay, let's look at the last one, last Hatcher monster, and that's Richard the First. Evolution is a Blast type Pierce monster, regen, so same thing as Joan of Arc, 2000 per turn, and then no warp, and then gauge of recovery. So she's a very supportive monster. Strike shot is increased weak point effectiveness, so usually it is ×3 for weak point damage, like in a normal dungeon, and after the strike shot it will be ×5. And then bump combo is rebound spread shot, so same thing as Warriors' rebound spread shot. Ascension, now she's a balance type, still a pierce monster, and then ability of no warp and light resistance, and then gauge of no magic circle. And then strike shot becomes a bounce monster, and then nulls blocks. So this is the first of her kind. Usually you have become a pierce and then become a null block monster, but technically she has like 3 null abilities, and it's relatively short. 12 turns is relatively short. Bump combo is a speed up, and then sub is spread piercer L2. So both are relatively in the supportive range. There's not much carry potential, although the evolution does have to have that rebound spread shot in there, but her strike shot is supportive. Ascension is more supportive, but she does have more abilities. So let's look at the Colossals and Impossibles. So Eden, very strong with the regen and stuff, regen, recovery, and then weak point effectiveness is also very strong. And then Izanagi Zero, just because she has that, just because her bump combo can deal with the laser barriers, and she can heal your team up on a no hard dungeon. Okay, let's go for the Ascension. Ascension also Eden. So in terms of who's better for which, like which form is better for Eden, I would say the evolution. Although Ascension does have that speed up, chances are you won't be using that speed up that much. And then evolution, and also the Ascension's strike shot is kind of useless in Eden, whereas evolution you can use it to. It's kind of like cha-cha into whatever. I think Goho, Van Gogh. Basically shoot out weak points and then reveal weak points, and then Goho will just use her strike shot and then deal tons of damage. It's kind of like that same thing. This time you don't reveal more weak points, you gain the effectiveness of those weak points, and you'll do more damage that way. But also Izanagi Zero, same thing. This one is, it really depends. I would say evolution is better in Izanagi Zero. Well, actually Ascension has that no warp, no magic circle, but it's just that speed up. If you don't stack monsters with no magic circles, then that speed up can bite you in the butt. And then last one, Akasha, because she does have a no magic circle and she's a no warp. Although the light resistance doesn't mean much, but you know, that no magic circle is very useful. Okay, now let's look at the Hatcher, the farmables. First ones are the extreme monsters, so Báthory and Vlad the Third are your extreme monsters. Okay, let's look at Báthory first. So balance type pierce monster, relatively high speed but really slow speed, so be careful of that. Ability is no warp, gauge of strike shot reducer. Her strike shot is a bash plus spread shot. So like strike shot wise it's pretty bad. But bump combo is an 8-way laser L, so same thing as God Striker's 8-way laser. This is the first extreme monster with the 8-way laser, so you're compensating for strike shot and speed for that somewhat powerful 8-way laser. Like in terms of extreme monsters, it's pretty high up there in terms of damage. Let's look at Vlad the Third. Speed monster, bounce, and then ability is no damage wall and Paladin Slayer. And then strike shot is an all no strike shot, so you can deal with gravity barriers and mines and warps along with that damage wall. And then bump combo is spread, pierce, destruction, XL3. Now let's look at the impossibles and colossals. Báthory, the only one is only Kushina Zero, just because she's a pierce no warp monster. You just gotta be careful of that low speed, so you can't really deal much. You can't really do mob clearing with it, but that 8-way laser can deal some damage to other minions, so I think it's relatively good. Next one, Vlad the Third. The best one is Yamato Takeru Zero. Slays Yamato Takeru, and that all-no strike shot can be used to bypass the gravity barriers. So it's also so it's really strong. And then the last one is Bishamonten. Just because he's a no damage wall monster. Paladin Slayer doesn't do much, but you know. And also, like, the bump cone can pass through those laser barriers during those Bishamonten stages. Okay, let's look at the lethal monster, and it's Tokugawa Tsunayoshi. So this is the 4th Tokugawa monster. So you have Yoshinobu, Ieyasu, and what's that? Yoshimune. Now it's Tsunayoshi. In terms of historic figures in Tokugawa and the Tokugawa clan, there's like 14 or 15 of them. So you'll never run out, basically. And okay, but it is a lethal monster, so it has both evolution and ascension. So let's look at the evolution. Evolution is a no damage wall monster with a gauge of no block. Strike shot is a self-immune strike shot, so basically Hanzo style. And then bump is flare. And ascension is a no damage wall monster and a no gravity barrier monster. So same thing as Lakala, I think. Let's look at the strike shot. Meteor strike shot is a 30-turn meteor strike shot and a homing destruction 8 plus the cross laser S. So I feel bad for Akala because you're probably not going to be using Akala anytime soon if Tsunayoshi is relatively easy on the dungeon side. But just because that meteor strike shot is way better than Akala's strike shot for the most part. Okay, let's look at the dungeons for Tokugawa Tsunayoshi. Evolution, Skill Me Zero. I always say Kushina Zero, but anyways, Skill Me Zero because she's a no block monster and you can deal with the balls relatively effectively. And then Ashura, because same thing as Kamehameha, damage walls and a no block. She is not a pierce monster this time, but if you're good with the bounce monsters, then you can avoid those damages, and it's very good max luck in my opinion. Just because of flare, you'll definitely hit Asha because you're positioning so close to her and away from her. Okay, Ascension, the best one, and probably like you can find a lot of them. You can find like Yamato Takeru, Bishamonten, and stuff like that. But the only reason you will want to max luck Ascension is for Devidada, I think. Deals with both gimmicks, and Meteor Strike Shot is very good at dealing damage to all the lotuses at the same time. And basically a more, actually it's kind of like Tiara and Thumbelina, but Thumbelina does have defense up that is more useful than whatever Tsunayoshi is bringing in terms of bump combos. But if you want a max luck monster for Devidada, then Tsunayoshi is your best bet. And if you're a beginner, then I think Tsunayoshi is the Ascension form is better than the evolution in general, just because you can bring her into more extreme dungeons and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it for me in terms of the rundown. If you have any more questions, then comment below. But just remember, this is like a first impressions thing. This is all reading on paper of what these guys do and how in what dungeons they work. Usually in the future, of course, there's future dungeons that they can be useful for, as well as we don't know like multipliers and stuff for the most part. So these will change after they get released. So hope you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.